Yeah, Rap Radar Podcast, Elliot Wilson.
This is B-Dot.
B-Dot, what's up, baby?
Man, I'm feeling great.
Can you believe this, man?
Yo, man, look at this place.
Third time's the charm?
Who did you steal from?
This guy goes by the name of Drake.
Yes,
man.
sir.
Yeah, man.
What's up, sir? How are you?
I'm good.
Cheers
I'm
to
good.
this moment.
Yeah,
Cheers,
please,
man.
please,
Thank you,
please.
brother.
Thank you guys for coming out here.
Finally.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Tell them where we're at, Drake, man. Jesus, man.
Well, we are in Toronto, Canada, at my house, which is a nice thing to say because it's been a few years in the making. I just moved in about like 2 weeks ago, maybe. Okay. So still getting settled, getting adjusted. But yeah, it's great. I actually just had a conversation with the guys the other day because we were kind of in a stride for music, and I took like the last like 2 weeks to myself pretty much, and I was, you know, I feel guilty when I don't work, so I just sent this apology letter out to everybody, like, you know, but I say that to say the reason why is, just, you know, I feel like I haven't felt like my life belonged to me this much, and probably in the whole span of my career. I mean, you know, you just get so caught up in work that that you forget that, like, you know, you have like a personal life. And
So
like,
this
you
place
know,
is kind of building a balance?
Yeah. I mean, it really is like sort of like, I mean, I live here like pretty much by myself, you know, so yeah, it's just bringing me a lot of balance, a lot of peace, you know, a lot of time to reflect. You know, like Oliver told me the other day, yo, I hope you're just like, you know, like lighting one spliff and just walking around the house and just realizing like, yo, you really, you know.
So you like celebrating the whole birthday? And just
Oh yeah, that's what I do. I wake up in the morning, I start drinking espressos. I wake up in the morning, I start drinking espressos. I wake up, have like a, you know, nice balanced meal, put on some great music. I don't know if you guys went to the toilet yet, but you know, the toilet plays Pac.
I did pee and I heard Pac. I got scared.
Yeah, I know,
man.
Yeah, it's just like curating the space, but it's been great, man. It's really setting me on a new path, and you know, especially at the turn of the decade, it's almost perfect timing.
You live here, but you've been living on the charts for like the last 10 years, man. Like,
That's what we want to say. I mean, the main thing is to everybody, man, you're the artist of the 10s.
yes.
This is your decade. It's a decade of dominance.
Facts.
I just feel like that needs to be said. Like, I feel
Thank
like
you.
a lot of times it's not. I mean, there was some statistic came out about like 400 weeks or something. You was in the top 10 or whatever it was, and then if you didn't count Sicko Mode where you weren't credited, it's really 500. Like, that's insane.
Which,
like,
by the way, I don't know why I wasn't credited.
that wasn't your choice.
I don't know who finessed that play. But nah.
But obviously you know what you're doing. But then to just see that like really written down and see those type of stats, like that's got to even impress yourself, right? Like to see that what you've been able to accomplish in these last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, usually when it's when people start to put it in your face, when it's one of these moments like the turn of a decade or something, is when you really start to sort of see it more and realize it. I never let myself get too invested in the lows or the highs. That's kind of how I stay focused. But yeah, no, it's incredible. One of my friends sent me a video the other day, and it was just like all the top numbers from the last 10 years, and the people. I don't know if you saw that video where all the artists start moving and taking over different spots, and that was pretty crazy because it was like for the whole like last 2 minutes of that video, I was just sitting up there, you know, with the exception of like getting, you know, flipped out with like PS Psy. Remember that song? Gangnam Style.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's great, man. It's you know, it's everything I always wanted. It's what I work tirelessly for and relentlessly, you know, just constantly trying to, you know, create, stay refreshing, stay consistent, you know, learning the right amount of time to take off, but you know, so but now it's over, so it's just time to go again.
But 10 years ago, did you ever anticipate having a run like this?
I think I had things in my mind that I wanted to accomplish. I think I had the utmost faith in myself and a lot of confidence in myself. I don't necessarily know if I ever saw it going like this far, but also, you know, as you receive things in life, money, blessings, whatever, your appetite begins to grow, right? So it's like if I give you $1 million tomorrow, You're gonna learn what it's like to have $1 million, and then you're gonna start being around people that have $10 million or $100 million. You're gonna learn that there's other things that you can't get with $1 million.
Right.
So, you know, your appetite grows, and I think the initial visions that I had for myself just kind of manifested into
And what were
all
those
of it.
goals then at that time?
I think when I first started out, I just wanted to be just as important as Lil Wayne, because I felt like nobody was ever going to be as big as Lil Wayne, like during like Lollipop times and obviously like Carter 3 times. And, you know, I just never seen rap be that, it just was it was like this bright flash bulb. Like I just never seen it look so massive and so big. And remember, like I'm on tour with the guy, so I'm at his shows, and you know I'm watching everything. Like you know and by the way, I don't think that anybody like ever in music from now and before and the future, I don't know if there'll ever be anybody that will work harder than that guy. So that was a big thing that I paid attention to as well. Was just like he has the most insane work ethic, and I see like a lot of glimpses of that in like guys like Future, Thug, guys that really stay in there and they're like again
Live in the
relentless.
studio.
Like but like man, there was nothing like Wayne. Like I used to watch Wayne cut like 4 or 5 classics in a night, like joints that like would just go on to be like it would be mind blowing. You know, he'd get 4 verses off, and then like 2 months later, or 3 months later, those songs would come out. I'd be like, I can't believe this is like, you know, Make It Rain or like, you know, like whatever.
Shout out Fat Joe.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. I think initially my goal was just to be a protege that didn't flop. You know, I just wanted to be somebody that was like remotely as important as my mentor. And yeah, from there, you know, I think a lot of things changed when Wayne went to jail, because it was really a moment of realization. Like, all right, this guy pretty much put all his trust and all his like power behind us, and now like it's on our shoulders to like make sure that when he comes home, you know, it's kind of like the same thing. Like if your man goes in and does a bid and you guys are doing a thing together, you want to make sure that when he comes out, you come pick him up in a nice car and say, yo, here, you know. So it was that type of responsibility where it's like, yo, when my guy comes home, I just want to make sure that this thing is bigger than where it was when we left off.
So how do you think you held it down in that period?
Just from all the teachings, all the things that I learned, you know, I think I just clicked into a different zone naturally, you know, because like I said, I was out here by myself. I mean, obviously it was me and Nikki, but you know, I always felt like, okay, I'm Wayne's little brother, and he's dependent on me to carry this name, you know. And at that time, Young Money was a lot more connected, so I felt that obligation to everybody, to Mac, to Nikki, to Tez, to you know, to really take things to whatever level I could take them to. And I think I just did it by like, again, observing him. I knew what it was to try new things on records. I wasn't afraid. I loved to work. And Wayne always embraced me working in my own space. He never told me, yo, you have to work like me. You have to stay up these hours. You have to do these drugs. You have to. He never was like that. He never pressured me to do nothing. He always wanted me to work the way I felt. You know, the way and my assistant right now, who I've been with for years, I'll never forget like the first time I was like, well, look, the way I work is I need 40 here, you know, because that's my engineer, and I like, you know, he knows what to do with my vocals. And I remember CJ, you know, who again is like, you know, we formed a 10-year bond, if not more now, but I remember CJ being like, yo, what, we're gonna book this guy's boy a flight to come to, like, just tell him to get in the booth with who we got here, you know? Why are we booking this boy a flight? And
Wayne, you could probably get any producer at that time too, right?
Well, I mean, it was just, we were at Hot Beats and they had engineers. So he's like, what? Like, this guy's gonna fly another guy from Canada? And, you know, obviously CJ doing his job, trying to watch over the money, you know, was like, why are we flying in Drake's boy? Or not, I wasn't even Drake. It was probably just like, yo, why are we flying in this light-skinned kid's boy to come and help him with his music? But Wayne stood up for me, and he's like, yo, get him whatever he needs. And I think with those tools was how I was able to maintain for that stretch of whatever it was. I think it was a little under a year. Yeah. But you know, just to have it primed for him to touch road again and know that it didn't take some deep plummet to the bottom. You know, it was bigger than ever. I think by the time he came out.
Yeah, even musically, it sounded like you changed as well, because it's like if you listen to your old records, it sounds like someone's doing a bad impersonation of you. And it's like fast forward, it sounds like night and day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you used to stretch out the vowels.
Yeah.
Like let's be honest.
Yeah.
But you know, moving forward, it changed. Was that stemming from that situation with Wayne? And
I think that was just the times, man. It was like finding myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can always hear a rapper finding themselves if you give them more than like 5 or 10 years. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I used to rap like Button back in the day. Just with the way I used to try and get like certain flows off,
Yeah.
and then you know when I met Wayne, I realized the goal was to like get bars off, but also have these catchy nuances that people can grasp onto.
Right.
And I think a big thing that changed my music too was understanding the performance element. So to watch what records work on tour for Wayne, or to start doing my own shows and see, okay, like cool, you know, like I do love to make, you know, R&B music, slow music, melodic music, but like, man, it feels good to have one of those slappers. Like, it feels good to have people screaming those words back at you, and they start moshing and they start going crazy. And you know, again, your appetite starts to grow, and R&B music or songs like Best I Ever Had, you know, aren't enough to satisfy the palate. You want more, you know, you want to tap into different things. And I think I'm, you know, probably the biggest case of that, where it's just like, I've almost left no genre untouched at this point. But that's also just because, you know, like it's been quite a while, and I like to also enjoy what I'm doing. I mean, I still love making music, and part of loving it is a challenge, right? Like I need new challenges. So, you know, people often question like, oh, why, you know, all of a sudden you're switching your accent and making this type of music. It's not that, it's just, you know, at the end of the day, I can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again, because one, you'll get used to it and then you'll be over it. And two, for me, it's like, you know, I want to try my hand at something, and you know, I don't really think I fucked it up yet. You know, so that's a good.
You mentioned Best I Ever Had. That was your first, I guess, legitimate, like serious hit, right? Like, how did that change your life? And like, it's interesting. A lot of times, the song that breaks a hip hop artist through may not even be in the set list anymore, but that's the record that was like the record that changed everything for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Best I Ever Had was I remember, I don't know if we told this story before, but I remember that.
It's okay, Drake, it's the Rap Radar.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to be repetitive with the stories, but I'll never forget, it was Rich Paul that was telling me that Uptown was the single, right?
Like that little...
No, sorry. It was me telling him that Uptown, I was like, yo, Uptown is the one. This is what we should go with. And he was like, yo, nah, like, what are you talking about? This other one is the one. Yeah, I mean, it was just, you know, for lack of a better term, it was the definition of like 0 to 100. Like that shit went crazy. And, you know, at a time when, you know, Hot 97 was thriving and radio was thriving. And yeah, that brought in all the like, you know, my first like celebrity admirers, like other artists and other, you know, famous people just showing me that they were listening, which is obviously, you know, through G. Roberson at the time, which is how we got Ye to do the video. And yeah, it just started feeling like, that was the first, like, if you watch that video, I'm so scared I can't even rap into the camera. I'm looking anywhere else but at the lens. But, you know, that day, probably shooting that video was the first time I was like, oh shit, like I'm a rapper in the rap game now. Like, this is happening.
When did you click with the whole So Far Gone project that was gonna be your breakthrough? That was your third tape, right? Like, did you feel like this was, you were getting better as an artist and this was a different?
Yeah, I knew when we were finishing up the tape we finished recording the tape in the Beverly Hills Hotel. Because at the time, Wayne used to live like a sheikh, like a prince. Like he used to have no, seriously, he used to have like probably like what, 30, 40 rooms at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Damn.
Or is it the Beverly Wilshire? They had a Beverly Wilshire Hotel. He used to have like 30, 40 rooms, open room service. Like, you know, like you could order a Dom
That's the
three
deal
and
for
a
everybody.
steak.
That's crazy.
So yeah, at the time, you know, he was just posted up. He was posted up in LA, and we were posted up too. So we decided, you know, we were gonna finish the tape out there, and that was where, you know, we did like Bria's interlude, where like Omarion came through and did his piece, and yeah, I remember. I think there's actually a clip of it. I don't know if 40 has it or if it's online, but we were all in the hotel room, and Jackie Long was there, and we were all toasting to this tape. And I remember I went out to the car. I think it was like a BMW, like 645 or whatever. And me and 40 just played the tape fully front to back in the car. And I remember we just looked at each other like, yo, I think this is it. This is really about to happen for us, you know. There's just, that really showed me like, you know, what it is to have an album with like, you know, 7 or 8 joints on it that I know people are like, they have to be invested in this. There's no way, you know, there's no way they could just ignore this. Yeah. You know, starting with like Lust for Life, like I knew from that intro, like this doesn't sound like anybody else or anything else. And
Say You Will
yeah,
freestyle.
yeah, Say You Will. Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously like coming.
Because that became its own movement at the shows. Like, how did that develop? You remember?
Well, yeah, once people started sharing the tape, like at the time, you know, back in those days, it really had to spread from word of mouth. Right. You know, it really, you know, it was still people playing the CD in their car. And it was that whole "who is this" moment, which is, by the way, the best moment for any artist in music. You know,
you think even today? It's still
yeah,
fresh?
don't ever not like just be present in your "who is this" moment, because you're gonna be chasing that "who is this" moment for the rest of your career, trying to keep people as interested as they were when they felt like they were one of the only people listening to you. So if they were gifted the music from a friend just by being in the same car, and now they've taken So Far Gone with them back to their school or their neighborhood, and they started, you know, share. That was the beauty of back in the day, when it wasn't like, you know, so readily accessible and new stuff dropping every day. And you know, still I think there are people who scour all platforms to find that next wave and that next sound. And I still get joy out of getting new music from friends of mine or sharing.
Discovery.
Yeah, but your "who is this" moment is a big moment. So for all new artists, please be present in that moment, because it does escape you and you'll be trying to get it back forever. So, but your question was Say You Will.
I just remember I started seeing like on the Nah Rights and all that, be like, you waited to see you do the freestyle to Say You Will, and the crowd would just go crazy. And
well, I think it was also because I made that a part of the show that was unpredictable. So at the time, I was legit, you know, sometimes I would, you know, do the first few bars and then switch it, or I would genuinely just freestyle with the auto-tune, you know. So I think people started being like, oh, what's gonna be said tonight? But yeah, a lot of those things picked up, and even just like solidifying my relationships with places like, you know, Houston, Atlanta, Vegas really solidified my relationship with Houston, Texas, obviously, as well as November 18th. Right. Yeah. But, you know, expressing my admiration and love for that place, because it, you know, it has such a it's such a big piece of all my realization that this was happening. You know, I mean, me and Wayne, I know I've told this story before. Me and Wayne, you know, met at the Hotel Derrick. That was the first place I'd ever really flown out of Canada for anything besides Degrassi. So I flew to Houston, and you know, I went on the bus, and Wayne was getting the biggest tattoo, bleeding out with like black ink. I was like the most like, I was just like, yo, this is crazy. Yeah. And then I remember just sitting there and like, I'm looking up, and like Kobe Bryant walks on the bus, you know, to get his like Carter 3 iPod, because he wanted to get the album early. But you know, so Houston was a big part of my story, and the first time my eyes got really wide. Right. So yeah, I think that tape was also important in solidifying relationships like that. Solidifying the fact that I can do more than one thing was a big deal too. Like, you know, with A Night Off and Bria's interlude, and then, you know, having the bars from Say What's Real, or, you know, the Uptowns or whatever, just showing people that, you know, this is going to be an exciting artist
Yeah,
to pay
that balance
attention
of singing and rapping. Like I don't know, you saw John Caramanica wrote an article about you set a blueprint for the newer generation to come. And everybody on Twitter went crazy, but it wasn't saying that rappers hadn't sang before you, but we people may not realize all the heat you caught in the beginning, being who you were. And like, so what was your take on all that when you started hearing that brouhaha about that?
I mean, well now it's like, it's obviously I guess there's a lot of people who contributed to that thing. Like there's people who inspired me. You know, obviously 50 Cent, you know, 21 Questions will probably be my most inspiring example of a guy, you know, who's not supposed to be singing and girls loving it and going crazy. Obviously you had, you know, T-Pain and Wayne doing their, you know, their style of things, which was huge. And, you know, and then obviously another major example was someone who always makes the massive commitment when, you know, when everyone else is wavering, he's gonna go and fully commit, which is 808s. You know, a guy who's known for his bars and his rapping, comical, you know, rapping on College Dropout and Late Registration, going straight to like, you know, just basically a singing album inspired by like genres in music that maybe people in rap didn't even, you know about. But I think that, you know, I'll always give credit where credit is due. So I credit all those people with that movement. I think I was probably the one that took it the furthest to go and make like full-blown R&B songs, and just to kind of not be like afraid. Like to me, like making music for girls is just the waviest thing you could do. So I was never really, you know, out of all the things that people will say about me, I was never affected by the whole like, you know, this is soft or this is emotional or whatever. Because I was just kind of like, I mean, I guess I just make music for like dusty guys and shit, but like that's just not really like what inspires me, you know? So yeah, I was always just super hyped to be that guy. And I think over the years and leading into this next decade, you know, it's something that I've grown to just embrace more. It's actually a piece of my musical character that I love the most, which is just the fact that I do both those things and almost am able to split the time evenly.
Scorpion.
I never lean too heavy towards one. So I try and I try and find that balance. But yeah, I mean, I definitely was a part of it, you know, especially now, like a lot of the music that's coming out now is like, you know, these kids are like singing deep emotional pain, you know, like, you know, you get like a lot of the guys like, wow, I mean, there's so many, but like, you know, a kid like YNW Melly who like just has the craziest melodies, pain in his voice, you know, but not afraid to just be like, yeah, sure, like I might be this way on road, but in my music, this is what I enjoy doing, and you know, or I mean, there's so many of them that I could not tip my hat to and pay my respects to. A lot of these kids right now are just breaking the boundaries of what music is. It's just no longer black and white, and I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm really happy about it.
That's part of like your legacy, you know, and I feel like since the beginning you were always legacy minded. I saw like in previous interviews in Complex and even like on Underground Kings, you talk about how like I'm the greatest. You know, you said it before you knew you was. Like, did you always have this confidence coming into it, just thinking about the long game?
Yeah, and I also feel often that that things that I repetitively think about or say, I'm able to manifest. Like, you know, this house, for example, I manifested this because I obsessively used to take my uncle's Audi and I used to take a girl to Young and Eglinton, Silver City to the movies, and then to Pickle Barrel for dinner, because that was, you know, what I could afford.
Real Toronto shit that everybody's gonna be excited about.
You know, chicken fingers and fries, you know? That was what it
soda
was.
and nuggets.
So she was a special young lady.
Straight, and then I used to go tell her like, yo, you wanna go see where I'm gonna live one day? Because this is where I'm gonna live one day, and my uncle had the Audi drop, and I used to drive these same 3 streets right here. That used to be my route right there. I used to come down Park Lane where we're at, then back to Post Road, and then back Bridle Path, and Prince used to live around here.
Oh, wow.
So I used to pretend like I knew which one Prince's house was. Every night I'd pick a different house. Say, oh, that's Prince. But yeah, I truly believe, you know, a lot of those things I said, they may not have been the case at the time, but I did believe that they were possible.
What I think is interesting though too, like, sorry, B-Daz, with all the success though, I don't necessarily view Thank Me Later, your debut, as like the hip hop debut success. We've seen a lot of artists have that, like their debut album, whatever that means in this sense. I think so far gone, you know, mixtapes are albums now. Now people lose one project, but back then, Thank Me Later was billed that this is gonna be your studio album, this is gonna be your debut. And to me, it wasn't the complete victory that maybe you intended it to be.
I think Thank Me Later was the one and only project that I have where I was in that big label, like that like artist just got signed, record label, we're gonna get you features and here's what we think could, like that was like probably the only one of my albums that was remotely influenced by where I was at in my career at the time. I think I felt a lot of pressure to prove that I knew like big famous people. Just being from where I was from and stuff, like, you know, like I just wanted to show like Toronto, like look who I got on my album and yeah, I think I like made majority of that album on a tour as well. I think we were eager to get it out and I still love it as part of my story. But yeah, it was definitely probably the one project that like maybe had the least personal touches, and it was just really about like how big can we look and how big can we be, and that was just kind of just based off how people were making me feel like, yo, you need to be, you know, it was in a different era, man. It was in an era where like, you know, you felt dwarfed by pop stars and superstars and. There was no like, oh, I can just get famous from my mom's basement. Like I was the lottery winning lottery ticket, you know?
Draft pick.
Yeah, so it was like, but not even the #1 draft pick. I was like the lightning, like got hit by lightning and now I can like fly, like and like, you know, and now I'm like invisible and shit. Like, you know, it was like, I was a rare case. And yeah, I think I just felt a lot of pressure to be like, oh, like, you know, I'm gonna kill something with Jeezy and Jay-Z and Alicia Keys and I was just enamored by like the whole space, you know? It was just pretty crazy to me that any of these people would even make music with me. So yeah, I think that's the best way to describe that album was, you know, kind of a victim of my surroundings at the time, and not like victim, but like, a product of my surroundings at the time, you know, really just trying to execute for the people around me.
And also, I'm pretty sure being from Canada was some pressure, you know, coming out of Toronto. I saw in a previous interview with Complex, like in 2009, you said like the city is known for hate, and he never really had that icon, but you know, like a hometown hero. But now you're the guy. Like, how does that feel, you know, being looked on as that person?
I think that it's just probably the most important achievement of mine, which would just be, well, there's a few layers to it. So it would be giving the city an identity.
Right.
At a time where, you know, I remember a lot of my friends and stuff used to speak with like fake American accents, or like, you know, if they went and spent like a summer in like Buffalo, they'd be like, yeah, I'm from New York, son. You know, fuck Toronto, man. You know, I'm from Detroit, and they'd go to like Windsor for the night and shit. But like, yeah, it was just a different time. Nobody was really proud to be from here. Within the music scene, like it used to be called the Screwface Capital. We just had this thing where like, I don't know, we just wanted to, I think everyone was just waiting and being like, yo, will it ever happen, you know? And so you get a bunch of people kind of just competing at the same level for the same shows and the same radio spots and stuff, and it breeds a lot of headbutting. And yeah, I think as we started to rise, the biggest thing and the most important thing was that everyone else got to see that it was possible. Because at the time, the pitch was far-fetched. Like, okay, so you're telling me this Canadian Jew child actor is gonna be what? Is gonna be like someone that we say is in our top 5, top 10, whatever. It's like, it was a hard sell.
Yeah.
And I think that it took me probably being the furthest candidate and making it happen for everybody else just to realize, like, it's like, even with like, man, all these guys, like you look at the footage of Abel downtown Toronto singing, back when he was just roaming the streets and, and just up to no good, but just had raw talent. And, Tory Lanez, who used to be like outside, like shopping malls trying to battle people and shit. Like, all these people had drive, and all these people had talent. And I think that just the realization that it's possible was extremely important. I don't credit myself for anything other than that. I don't credit myself for just opening that next chapter in everyone's minds where it's like, all right, like if this person can do this, I can do this too. That's the only thing I ever want to take credit for when it comes to, whatever impact I had on other artists from the city. Because I truly believe that all these people deserve to be where they're at, and probably would have found their way. But I think that moment was a turning point for everybody. Like, yo, this is crazy, and like I gotta get, like I know I can get there too. So that was big, man. That was big for.
You think Take Care was the first bridge of bringing that to the table? Like, so do you feel like Take Care, you kind of took control back of your career in a sense and built you and 40 building your sound?
Yeah, I think I just like really came back home, after running around with Wayne on God knows how many tours and studio nights, and yeah, just kind of came back home and reconnected with my friends, reconnected with 40. Sonically, we reconnected, and just realized that we have a true opportunity to, again, establish ourselves separately from everybody else. So that was when we were truly hell-bent on, we're gonna have our own sound that sounds like our city, and it's gonna be dark, and it's gonna be moody, and it's gonna sound like how cold it feels outside. And of course, Oliver, being the genius that he is, goes, well, look, I got this kid, come downstairs in the rain and listen to this kid, his name's The Weeknd. And so that was a huge thing, was just like, realizing that there was just other kids cooped up in this dark ass studio, cooking up dark music, and again, like I remember even like during those times, like just being inspired by different things. Like I remember when Abel first played me Dirty Sprite 1, and we were just like, oh man, this is happening in Atlanta too. Somebody's on, and it was just, it was over. Like, like no disrespect to, no disrespect when I say this, but like, the days of like just trying to get like a pop smash with Alicia Keys on the hook was like, it was over. Yeah. I didn't want that anymore.
The R&B.
I didn't need a shiny big, I just needed something that like I can look back on and say, that's me. That's me and my friends and my city and my people. And yeah, I think from there I've never strayed from really that.
That's the thing you don't get credit for. You kind of redefine what a hit is, in a sense, right? Because you're this chart topper, but you listen to these songs, they're not like what we were taught were like, some of them are, but some of them aren't. Most of them aren't like what you would think the radio single is. Mm-hmm. Do you think you sort of redefine what a hit is with your consistency?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we were thinking at the time when we decided to drop Marvin's Room as like a lead single. Right. So yeah, I definitely think that we've always kind of, I guess, broke the mold in that regard, and it just continues. It continues. I mean, even all the way up until God's Plan, right? Like God's Plan was a song that I recorded like on a whim in my condo and thought nothing of it. I only had the first verse and the hook. I sent it to Trippy, and I was like, yo, maybe this could work for your album. And he was obviously, caught up, busy, whatever, doing his thing. And I know people punish him for that. They shouldn't punish him for that, though. Sometimes artists send a song. I was looking through my text the other day, and Young Thug sent me that Little Baby song to get on, and I was so mad because I just Lil Baby off So Much Fun. He had sent me, he had sent me like 12 songs, but in that 12-song package, Lil Baby was in there. I was like, damn, that's like one of my favorite joints on the album. How did I not get a verse off on that? But yeah, you know, I sent it to him, and you know, whatever happened, it didn't really work out that way, and then it leaked. And people forced my hand because they were like, yo, that shit sounds hard. And we had to rush and turn around because I was worried that another artist was gonna get the version and just start laying like random verses on it, you know, which back in the day was a huge hustle for people, getting leaks with like one verse idea leaks, and then like a random artist off like, you know, whatever would just be like, yeah, this is me and Drake's new shit. Like, but yeah, so we rushed. Like I remember like that night when the clips came out, and I think it was like around New Year's Eve, right? And we were rushing to try and turn it around in the next 2 days. And I remember I just was like, yo, I have to do a second verse. It has to be hard. And I did the line, you know, the line of the song, you know, I only love my bed and my mama, you know, and when Noel put the drop on that line, I was like, okay, yeah, maybe. but even then, I mean, you know, my point is I never would have I never could have told you a week before that God's Plan was my single and it was gonna be the biggest song of my career. I never would have known that. My hand just got forced. And it is truly, you know, I do feel as though I can put in the maximum amount of effort. I can use all my heart and my soul, you know, in my writing. But at the end of the day, I am being guided by some other power. I don't know what it is, but somebody likes me somewhere, you know? And that's just the facts, you know? Like, a lot of this is organic. It's not that calculated. And so, yeah, when we talk about singles not being traditional, it just kind of works out that way. I think we all have a good ear, and there's a core 8 to 10 people that I really look to for opinion. Yeah. And once those people tell me that...
Those people, I gotta make that list, man.
Once those people, well, one of them sitting right there for sure.
Right. He said I can't mention them. So.
Yeah, the ever elusive. Once those people, you know, give me their nod of approval, then, you know, I'm usually comfortable enough to say, well, fuck it, let's try it. And I can't think of that many times where it hasn't worked.
Too. That's the thing too. A lot of artists get to the point where they're successful, they don't even listen to any of even 8 other people's voices. Like you feel like at this point in your career, you're still willing to take the feedback from your core, from your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm way too self-conscious to not like require approval from people who I respect. I'm a very insecure person when it comes to my music, and especially when we're talking about starting a whole new chapter, like what we're working on now. Yeah. And that's only because until you've surrendered it to the world, you really don't know how people are going to feel about it. And even when you surrender it to the world, now we're in the times where, you know, the first reaction is just people just want to say the funniest shit. So it's always like the album will drop at 12:01, trash bins, you know, whatever. For any artist, right. You know, it's like, you know, I think people are more excited about, you know, being top comment than being, you know, actually really taking in an album and listening. But inevitably, you need music in your life. So then 2-3 weeks passes and you get an honest gauge on what you just surrendered to people.
I remember a line you said on Emotionless, you said opinions from total strangers take you out of your ways. Does that still bother you at this point in your career?
Depends on what narrative we're talking about, you know, but definitely, of course, there's things, you know, we are currently in a time where the stand-up comedian is almost like a newspaper, and the new comedian is just people with no filter on social media platforms. And while they are undefeated and extremely funny, of course people can start saying things that hurt you, that bother you, that you fuck your day up, take you out of your character, especially when they're just like, they're curated by a group of people that are ready for the downfall of Drake in this case. Right. So it's like, you know, it can be some hurtful stuff, and when it's completely false, and when it's, you know, when it hits you, rubs you the wrong way. Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know anybody. Whoever tells you they're not is not being honest.
Why do you choose to stay engaged? Like you're on Instagram, you're active, you'll like things, we'll see your presence, we'll feel your presence on Instagram. Like some artists can't find that balance and they don't want to be on social media.
Yeah, I just feel like then they beat me, you know, because I enjoy social media. It's good for so many things, you know. I've met so many great people, so many great songs have come from me being active and me actually checking my DM, or me, you know, I've had great friendships form over social media. I've met great women over social media.
Full disclosure.
But
that works.
Yeah, it works. But you know, yeah. So I feel like, you know, for people just because, you know, a few bad apples want to violate, it would be a shame for me to just like be like, I can't deal with this. It also is just like, I mean, it builds strength, you know, as tough as it may be, it definitely strengthens your character. I mean, I've heard it all, I've seen it all. Yeah. I've felt the worst of the worst, and I've felt the best of the best. So it's like, it's nice to be aware of all those emotions. You know, I definitely keep them in my arsenal, in my mind, you know, and use them to channel into other things. So.
I mean, musically, like when it comes to criticism, like you mentioned earlier, how some people might say, hey, Drake's appropriating this culture of music, or, you know, for your own personal gain. How do you feel about those kind of critiques?
I think that it's kind of a similar thing. They're curated by a bunch of people who just weren't on this boat to begin with. Like even the definition of appropriating a culture is not supporting that culture, right. Doing songs with people who are deeply rooted in that culture, giving opportunity to people who are in that culture. Yeah. That's not appropriating. Appropriating is taking it for your own personal gain and denying that it was ever inspired from this. That's the true disservice that somebody could do to the UK, to dance hall, to Afro beats. Me, I've always, anytime I embark on one of those journeys, I ensure that I'm not only paying all due respects verbally, but like I make a point to give
the look.
Yeah.
Give opportunity to people that I respect, you know?
It seems like that's like been a constant theme throughout all of your albums. Like you give a lot of new artists looks.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, I'm not one of those people that can be inspired by something and be like, well, that was inspiring, thanks. And then like just move on with it, like, you know, under my arm, like running down the field. I gotta like, you know, at least honor the person that handed me off the football before I ran for the touchdown. You know, I definitely feel like because when I do things, they do get magnified and amplified, people can sometimes feel uncomfortable, like, oh, okay, like, you know, one dance goes #1, and now all of a sudden, you know, this Afro inspired. But it's like, yeah, but like, you know, WizKid was on the song with me, and like, you know, I had blessings from like the real dons in that space. You know, I know those guys, I link with those guys, I go to their shows, they come to my shows, they touch my stage. So it's like, you know, the chatter is one thing, but in the community, amongst the real G's that are really doing this shit, I'm solidified for sure. You can ask anybody. Nobody's gonna sit there and say, yeah, like anybody that with real respect that's in any of these communities you're talking about, any of these genres, nobody's gonna be like, yeah, you know, it's gonna be the guys that are like, you know, that didn't get the look. Yeah. You know, or guys that like are no longer even relevant in that space, but they have a radio interview that day and they wanna be like, oh yeah, Drake, yeah, him doing Jamaican music is whack, you know, but it's like, they're also mad that OVO signed Popcorn. They're also mad that I was building with Movado back in the day. They're mad that, you know, I link with this person and that person and not them. Right. So, you know, some people also feel it. You can always tell when it's personal. Right. Fueled by personal gain that was never granted to them.
It's interesting because like listening to your music is like you're super successful, you're one of the best to ever do it, yet you still have this chip on your shoulder. I remember listening to Diplomatic Immunity. You know, you had the line where you say you're black excellence, but it was come to you, it's not the same though. Like, why do you think that still, like, I guess, that dark cloud is over your head?
Well, I think I've been in a lot of rooms and in a lot of conversations and just I've felt the other side of judgment and, you know, racial judgment sometimes, like being light-skinned, you know, being Canadian, having people that I look up to and respect tell me that I can't identify with what's going on because, you know, and granted, I'm also not the most outspoken person when it comes to political issues. I prefer to talk about it amongst my people, and if we're gonna do something, I prefer to go and make the change or actually do something and not just like post about it so that people are like, oh wow, this guy's really conscious about what's going on. Like, you know, the work we put in the communities, you know, the way we give back is legit. It's on the ground. Yeah. You know, it's not so you guys can all just like, you know, double tap and say, wow, oh my God, Drake's so like.
You said if you hold your tongue, you'll get crucified.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, sometimes you can feel that way, but now I feel like the first reaction is to post about something, and then people often just forget to do anything about what they posted about. You know, but I think that there's definitely a sad thing that goes on in celebrity culture where people post things because they feel like they're obligated to. People post things because they know that it makes them look like they're actively invested in certain things, but they're really not. You know, they're really actually not giving their money or building any opportunities for kids, building basketball courts, building schools, helping kids get through, you know. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm just one of those people. I like to really do it, you know, and especially, you know, with me and the elusive one, you know, we you know, it's something that we really just do it from way back in the day, from Strawberry Mansion times, from, you know, we've always left our footprint in the community in a real way. Even back in Jamaica, you know, when I did shoot the video there, like we didn't just go shoot the video when I shot Find Your Love. We didn't just shoot the video and dip. You know, we built a place for people to come. We left our money there. You know, it was so. Yeah, going back to your question though, I've just felt the other side of it. So that's kind of where that line came from. Yeah. You know, I obviously understand the times that we're living in and how serious it is and how divided we all are across the world. You know, with this, you know, with the person that's currently in that position, and you know, having that energy trickle on down. But that line is just me speaking to the other side of things, which is like, yo, sometimes like, you know, some of like my blackest friends can be just as cruel on the other end, you know, by making you feel excluded, or making you feel like you can't get in on this. and sometimes I do feel like if, you know, sometimes I don't feel celebrated when I know maybe somebody else would be celebrated for those accomplishments, you know? Yeah. I don't feel like people say when Drake is the artist of the decade, I don't think anybody says, wow, a black artist is the artist of the decade. I don't think anybody says that, really. I never heard anybody say that in the last few weeks. You know, and I associate I associate myself as a black man. So for me, it's sometimes it's something that I just acknowledge, and I just keep it moving. But you know, like I said, I feel like if the situation was different, I feel like maybe some of the massive accomplishments and accolades that we've conquered on behalf of all of us, not just me. It's not like some, you know, it's for all of us, right? Just like how excited I am when anybody else in our space does something great, you know. Yeah, of course, there's a part of me that wishes that I was celebrated a little more, but I mean, who wants to listen to me cry about being celebrated?
What do you rank, I was going to mention, because we talk about Take Care, what do we rank when people celebrate, talk about what records are classics or what albums are classics and those kind of hip hop standards? Like, do you view your catalog that way? Do you view like a Take Care a classic? Like, do you get caught up in that in any way, or do you try to stay objective about it?
Well, again, like, I know that there's a narrative, I know that there's like a narrative that is appealing to certain people to latch onto, which is like, oh, Drake doesn't even have a classic. Drake doesn't even have a classic. which is obviously, I mean, it's just not, that's not true. But it's just not, I mean, it's just not. But also it's just tough to be like in the moment talking about classics. Like we're still in the moment, right? Like, you know, like I have trouble defining what a classic is anymore. To me, a classic would be a body of work that shaped that year and the years afterwards, and had a massive impact on the music being made, on the culture, you know. So in that regard, like, yeah, for sure, I think I have classic albums, you know.
Which one? So Far Gone, Take Care?
I think So Far Gone is definitely, it being technically my first, you know, recognized offering.
Now, yeah.
It's definitely a classic,
I
though.
definitely think that. I definitely think Take Care, of course, was a big moment, you know. Was a class. It's like I don't like to give myself compliments, so it's tough for me to say it. I need somebody else to say.
We'll talk to Hov. Hov loves to debate about where his albums rank, where the discography ranks. Like, to have this output in this decade, do you view your albums as like, these is just where I was at that time and this is my story, but I don't want to judge them amongst each other? Makes sense?
Yeah, I think they all just stand alone for what they are, and I think when you just look at the year in review of that year, I mean, there's not too many of those albums that you can say that I had one that wasn't important. You know, maybe with the exception of like More Life being a bit of like a bit more of like just an impromptu. But like, you know, even for me, obviously, If You're Reading This was a huge moment. And I think as the years progress, you know, Views and Scorpion will also be albums that you just can't really ignore based on the amount of songs on those albums that were important in the space in that year. You know, like, you know, Scorpion obviously a high volume album, but you know, it's also like Nice for What, In My Feelings, God's Plan, Nonstop. It's a, you know, it's
I was mad because my favorite Drake album is Nothing Was the Same.
Yeah,
and I feel
that's
like
my favorite album too.
Is that your favorite?
Yeah.
Why is it still your favorite? And I feel like maybe Kendrick's Ascension at the time, you know, was part of it, but I feel like it wasn't fully embraced as I thought it should have been.
Yeah, I don't know. As time progresses, I have a lot of people come to me and say, you know what? I like Nothing Was the Same better than Take Care. It's just time has to pass for people to like, you know, I also make music that ages well. So sometimes you have to revisit some of the projects and realize how, you know, how well they were.
Tuscan Leather still goes.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why Nothing Was the Same is my favorite album is because of the fact that it was probably my most concise album, and within that concise offering was a lot of great shit. So it's like, you know, I didn't need to go make, for example, 25 songs at that time. I think there's like 15 songs on there or something, and it's like it's a great number. I just like where it sits, and I like the ratio of like, you know, there's not too many songs on that album that I can look back on and say, like, I would have done something different there. You know, I really do like that body of work.
Do you listen to some of your old stuff?
When I'm making a new album, yeah.
Okay.
I'll reference it. I actually do this thing where I chart out all so I'll write each track list out, and then I'll pick a number. So I'll say, like, you know, like right now I have like this new album up next with Take Care. And I'll say, okay, like if I had to, like, let me take all the songs I have, the batch of songs, and let me start plugging them in places and just see how does it stack up to an album like that. So I often challenge myself in that way, where I'll take an old album and just, you know, if I had to clash that old album with this new album, what would I put where? What would be the intro that I would say, you know, could compete with Over My Dead Body, and what, you know, what's gonna be my Marvin's Room? What's gonna be my headlines? You know, so just trying to like, using it as a roadmap almost.
You mentioned If You're Reading This, you know, the intro is legend. You know, like talking about the legacy. At what point did you realize that, yo, if I die, I am a motherfucking legend?
Again, I think it was just one of those overly confident statements that felt like a great note to start a album on. I definitely think in the last probably 5 years or 4 years, I've really realized that far after I'm gone from here, that I will be a part of music history. And to me, that is a legendary thing, you know, because there's just so many incredible artists over all these years. And, you know, when I think back of people I used to just look at pictures of when I was like 5 years old, or like, you know, and just to think that like people even mention my name in the same sentence as any of those individuals lets me know that I've accomplished something far beyond probably my wildest dreams, you know.
But that project's obviously riddled in controversy because of Quentin Miller, right? A lot of people feel like, well, he helped you with some songs, and even to this credit, I feel like you're still battling these ghostwriting rumors and this type of thing that in some sense, I think, does try to tarnish your legacy, whether it's effective or not. Like, how do you look back on that album, and does that still take away anything from that album for you, or how do you view it now when you look at it?
No, I really have, you know, I've really made my peace. I have no embarrassment when it comes to what I did on that album, you know? I mean, I worked with somebody on, I think 4 or 5 songs on that record. I pulled my weight when it came to my pen. It wasn't like I just, you know, it wasn't like I needed somebody to facilitate, you know, entire ideas. We worked together. And if I need to be the poster child that took all those hits for all my peers hiding behind me that do the same thing every fucking album, that's fine, I'll do it. You know, because there's a lot of people that link up with other people and make records that you guys love, you know? And that's kind of how music is a collaborative thing, you know? And I understand in rap, of course, in your comment section, it's a little different because we conduct ourselves, and I still associate myself in that community, we conduct ourselves by a few different rules. We tweak the rules a little bit in the sense that...
If it's a hook, it's okay.
Yeah, it's like, you know, there's things like that, you know, but, you know, with that being said, like, you know, anybody that knows me knows that my strongest talent is writing. That is my strongest talent. I'm not a great singer. I'm a good performer. I've grown into a great performer. But my greatest talent is writing, you know, and that's why people ask me to write songs for them. That's why people like to get in the room and write with me. And yeah, I want to just encourage anybody, like, look, if it makes a great song and you're the one that's voicing it, but it's you and this other person that's cooking it up, you're not doing anything wrong, you know? And that's like just, again, for me speaking to any new artist, like, don't let anybody tell you that you're not supposed to collaborate on music. That's what this is for. We should, you know, whatever gets you to that destination where you have, you know, a great body of work. If you need somebody to write the whole thing and all you do is just go in and track it, there's still artists that exist like that to this day that people love and revere, and they sell out stadiums.
That's not you, though.
That's not me, no. I've wrote by the way, all my biggest songs and any song that really, really did damage for me, I've wrote every single lyric. So that, like,
the hits, yeah.
The hits and the ones that you would, like, it's like, I'm not gonna collaborate with somebody on any of the timestamp records. I'm not collaborating with anybody on, you know, Marvin's Room, or, you know, like the R&B records that are, you know, other than me and Party. Like, I love working with
But
Party.
I think when you say the timestamp records, that is like the MC, like the bars, right?
Yeah.
Those are like, so I think the idea was like, try to discredit you as an MC, that all of that doesn't come from your pen.
Of course.
You're saying that comes from your pen.
But again, curated by the people who are ready to see the downfall of Drake. So again, just another little, like, let's try this angle, you know? It's really like I said, I've done studio sessions with people. When I collaborate with people, I always send the idea first. You know, I'm the one that picks the beat and goes, yo, here, just put a verse on this and take that for your album, your single, or whatever. You know, I put work in. People know me. I'm good for it. You know, so that's why I'm never really stressed about, like, that narrative. It's cool. It's fun. Again, it's cool for, like, memes and people that want to laugh and all that dumb shit. But
how do you feel in that moment of Meek sort of putting that out there and then everything goes crazy, right? A guy that was your friend, you know, things get a little hectic with you guys at that point, right?
Yeah. He was. I think he was in a bad mental spot, and he just made like a decision to go crazy. You know, it was. if I remember correctly, it was based on a show that I didn't show up for. That was like the tip of the iceberg. I think we had a little miscommunication, and he was under the impression that I confirmed that I was pulling up to one of his shows, and I think it was maybe one in Philly, and I didn't show up, and my management or somebody reached out to say I wasn't coming, and I think that being coupled with whatever conversations were happening amongst him and his lady, and him just kind of getting this idea, maybe I don't fuck with him or whatever. And he'll tell you himself he wasn't in the best mental spot at that time. And I think he just took a hard left and decided to just go for it, and felt like he had enough ammunition to maybe put a major dent in my armor or decapitate me, and again, I'm really good at channeling that negativity and those pressures into pushing me to a next level where I go into a calculated reactive space.
Charged up, back to back. You almost took the bully position. Like, where y'all at? Like,
yeah, I mean, I just felt like, in that moment, I just felt like, all right, well, if we're talking about music, let me just show you better than I can tweet you, or better than I can text you. I'm just gonna show you what I'm about. And I don't think anybody really expected me to just jump out there and defend myself and go first. And
twice.
And second. So yeah, I think, Charged Up was a thing that I was just seeing. I was just seeing if it was real. I was just seeing if it was, because you never know how calculated someone's plan is. Maybe they've been sitting on the record for 6 months. They hated you all this time, and they just want to fry you. Right. And so Charged Up was my way of being like, is it real, or is this just like a sporadic like outburst? I just wanted to know if it was real, if it was a package, or if it was just like maybe like a mistake on his part, And I started to realize that it was.
Taking an adversarial stance in a sense.
Yeah, and then I had made the decision that I was gonna. Go again, and I remember I was working on some beat. I think it was like a Boy Wonder beat or something like that, and it was like kind of more like rappy. It was gonna be another like 100-bar thing, and I was with Serena at the time, and we had been talking a lot about her and Sharapova going back and forth over the years, and she had made this comment to me, and she was like, "Well, look, if you're gonna go again, she's like, that beat that's on in there, it's just that she's like, you gotta finish it." She's a top competitor. Right. So she was like, you gotta finish it. Like, I'm talking about done, over. And it's gotta be something that everyone that he's with and him have to hear.
Can't ignore it.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't do some shit that's just for the moment and then it goes away.
Yeah.
She kind of put this battery in my back, funny enough. And then at the time, just, again, timing, this kid Dax, walked in the studio and never met him before. Played a beat, and that was the first beat.
Right.
And it was slow. It was super slow. It was way slower than it was. And then I told 40, like, yo, speed it up a bit. And that was just when we heard that. I just went into demon mode.
Right.
Yeah, and then, I really, I don't like to glorify the situation or talk about it too much, obviously, but I'm just giving you the background on how it happened. But, I'm not trying to sit here and be like, yeah, my record was something.
The reconciliation, the Boston show, you bring him out, like, a lot has happened after that battle, right? Yeah. You could do a whole 30 for 30 on that that battle, right? But
well, yeah, by the way, also these things go to another place, right? So, one thing I could tell you firsthand is like, Meek's not a pretender, he's not a joker. He's not like beefing with some of these other rap guys where it's like their story's all made up and they're really not, their character's not like that. Meek's really about that. Mm-hmm. And so, and I can tell you firsthand. straight up. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, I know obviously he's made a change in his life, but I'll be the first to tell you that. Meek's that guy for real. So it's like, I wasn't beefing with no punk,
right?
You know? And it's like, yeah, for us to be able to turn that around was a big thing. I think we both felt an obligation just to everybody that had eyes on us, all these young kids. We had to turn that around because we know how far it was going, and almost went, you know. So
we talk about reconciliation. You obviously have Chris, Meek, Tory, Puff to an extent, you know, and things have been exasperated by Pusha. At this point in your career, in your life, do you think you could ever squash things or mend things with him?
Well, you know, I'm at a great healing place in my life, which is why all those people you mentioned, that I really never, when I really break down the issues, when I started to sort of stop thinking from such a confrontational, paranoid, violent standpoint, I started to just really break down what's our issue again? What is this over again? Like, it's over a fight we had in like 2009, or it's over it's over the fact that we're from the same city, or it's over the, you know. I was able to mend a lot of those situations. A lot of people ask me like, yo, why? Like, why are you doing this? Why would you do it? And I wanted my closest friends to know that it's for me, you know? It's got a lot to do with me. It's not a fun life when you're like just in a lot of beefs with people. You know, you gotta check on who's gonna be at an event. You start moving different. You start, you know, I was changing as a person, becoming a guy that was, you know, definitely willing to do some terrible things, definitely moving with a different energy. And, you know, like I said, it's just not a fun life when you have to just look over your shoulder all the time, or wonder, you know, all right, if this goes left, which one of my friends is gonna go sit for 2, 3, 4, 10 years? You know what? Like, it's just not. It's not a good way to live. In that particular situation that you're talking about, don't know. I have no desire to ever mend anything with that person, and yeah, that situation just went. You know, it just went where it went, and it's just there's no turning back. It's not like those other situations that you mentioned.
Did Pusha go too far by revealing the child and presenting that to the world?
Well, I'll say this. I tip my hat to the chess move. I mean, it was a genius play in the game of chess. And definitely, you know, warranted my first quote unquote, you know, loss in the competitive sport of rapping. By choice, obviously, because I bowed out after realizing like the gap between us allowed him to drop, you know, a bomb on the world that really became that was all anyone cared about. You know, I sleep well at night knowing I didn't get outbarred and I didn't get, you know, dunned off by some crazy song it was just, you know, he told the world that the biggest artist at the time has a kid that he hasn't told you about. So I knew kind of for me it was over at that point. It wasn't even about battle rap or any of that. It was just the information was too shocking. It was, like I said, on his part, it was a genius chess move. He obviously has no, like, you know, when it comes to me, he's not gonna have any like morals or respect. So the other elements of the record, whether it be like just like the shit that he's making up about my mom and my dad and all this like dumb shit, or you know, obviously the part that hit me the most, which is like, you know, wishing like that my friend that has an illness like dies. Like that shit to me is just not really wavy. Like I'm just not really with that. Like, and when I did say, oh, there's rules to this, I didn't mean there's rules that anybody has to follow. But like in battle rap, you know, they just headshotted that guy the other day because he was on stage and he pulled out a picture of the guy's dead aunt and started rapping about, you know, that type of shit. And it just is what it is. There's a point where you're gonna wanna stop rapping. I'm sure I could say something about, you know, your lovely lady or, you know, a child or a family member, and you're just gonna wanna not really rap anymore. So that's just kind of where I got to. I just had to admit, like, yo, I'm really, you know, and when I was making the record in response, which was a real record, I know people think it's like some myth. it was like on this vinyls beat, and I just found myself saying things that like one seemed really out of character, just because I was like deeply invested in the situation and getting very angry, and saying things that I don't know if in 2 years I'd want to hear myself say, and yeah, I just realized that like nobody cares about this guy, so it's not really much I can say better than Drake Has a Baby. He won, you know, he won off that bomb, you know, and so again, you know, it's a dub that like, you know, he could take it.
Was that true that you wanted to reveal the child with Adidas campaign and things like that?
I wasn't. I had at the time I was working with Adidas, and we were toying with the idea of a name being a play off of a name. Off of my son's name. I wasn't revealing my son with Adidas, or like I wasn't gonna have my son like in the fucking
right.
But yeah, no, I was just you know, to be honest with you, I actually did a DNA test for my son, and they came back to us and they said that the DNA test got ruined in transit, and that they couldn't be 100% sure that that was my son or not. So I was in a really weird pending situation where I didn't want to go tell the world that that was my son, and it wasn't. So, and if you see my son, you understand why.
I'm mad. Here's the thing. You went in the shop. You showed everybody a picture. B.I. said he seen the picture.
Show it to me.
I thought we were cool, Drake.
Yeah,
I gotta see a picture.
But yeah, no, if you see my boy, you'll understand. Like, you know, at the time I was like, I mean, he's just a stunning child, you know, with the brightest blue eyes. And at the time I was like, I don't know. But, you know, it actually wasn't until a week before the album came out that I got confirmation that that was definitely my son. It took me 2 more solid tests with 2 different companies. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, again, I wasn't like all the details of his record are all just like fabricated, so just to make it more interesting. The story is actually not really that interesting. The biggest part of it is that I have a son. But it wasn't like, oh, I'm hiding him and I still, by the way, I still won't post my son because the world's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah. Right.
And like, you know, I'm in a co-parenting situation. Anybody that's in a co-parenting situation understands that you have to split time between 2 locations, so I can't always be there to make sure he's good. The last thing I want to do is have people running around going crazy trying to get my son and do all the crazy shit that they do to me here, showing up outside and with, you know, voodoo dolls and naked pictures.
But do you feel like maybe you kind of crossed the line?
That did happen the other day, bro.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody did pull up with some nudes.
What of you or so?
No, of me. No, like of them.
Oh.
No, they pulled up with like some nudes and we had to burn them in the backyard.
Oh my goodness.
I felt the like Obia energy.
It's like a seance. But do you feel like you crossed the line when you talking about Pusha? You mentioned his woman, you know, the Duppy freestyle, like.
He has a point. He can say, yo, you brought up my lady's name. Oh, all bets are off the table. That's fine. You know, like I said, we all think differently, right? And even like, you know, even in the Me and Meek situation, if you listen back to those records, and it's something that we talked about before too, if you listen back, it's, you know, we didn't really go that crazy on each other. Yeah. And we left Nick out of it, and we left kind of family out of it for the most part. Like it's
both
just
knew each other, more stuff about each other that you didn't go to. Also,
it's whether there was information that didn't get revealed or not. The point is like there's just some unwritten rules in the sport for some people. Obviously not for him, and that's fine, you know. And he's just made an entire career off of it, you know. And some people like his music. I personally don't, because I don't believe any of it. And I like to listen to guys that I believe. But
you were a Clips fan. You had the sign mic and all that stuff. So how was that to have that?
I still have it upstairs.
Idols become your rivals, right? And I guess to genuinely lose respect for someone.
Yeah, but it's also, you just get to peek behind the curtain too, right? It's like, you know, when I was, 16, thinking that he was the biggest dope dealer in the world, serving bricks to every corner of America. Yeah, sure. I'm sure I was, you know, again, a fan and obviously more so just a fan of like Pharrell and Neptunes. I always wanted to be signed to Star Trek and stuff like that. That was like the wave. But yeah, I mean, you know, now that I'm grown up and I actually know him and the truth is just kind of like, I don't know, it's not as appealing as it once
Do you
was.
look at those as like a sidebar almost to the biggest conflict, which is the ups and downs of your relationship with Kanye West at the end of the day?
I think that that's where all of this kind of stems from. It's all kind of rooted in that situation. Yes, you know, I think that he definitely recruited a guy with a similar dislike for me, no matter what he says in interviews. You know, I know that he can tell whoever, you know, I got love for him and whatever, but it's not love. You know, it's there's something there that bothers him deeply, and yeah, I can't fix it for him. So it just is what it is. I can never, ever, ever, ever turn my back on the things that I've said about him in a positive light, and I still feel all those same things.
You picked him up earlier in this conversation.
Yeah, he's still my, you know, obviously with the exception of Lil Wayne, just because Lil Wayne will always just forever be like something else other than one of my favorite artists. But, you know, and if I look at Hove as like the guy who truly probably shaped majority of my thinking, skill set, all those things, I would say that Kanye West would be my favorite artist, you know, all around, you know, and that's just facts. I mean, I have no problem saying that. It's not like you know, I'm always willing, like I said, I'm always willing to give the love and the credit. But yeah, things have just changed. I'm not just some kid that's a fan anymore, and now we have personal situations. And like I said, a lot of his issues with me, I can't fix them for him.
But would you be open to communication?
No, not really, because it's not on my end. I have no problem with any of these guys. I don't even know these guys like that. I have no problem with these guys.
One last thing though, with Sicko Mode as a song, it seemed like in December he went on a Twitter rant and he started to feel like those lines were directed at him.
Of course, though. Of course. I'm not, like, I can't lie to you. Of course they were. But it's also, you know, like I said, this is a sport at the end of the day, and you know from a very early point, I've never shied away from defending myself. And I'm also sometimes eager to engage if I feel that you want to be slick or be offensive behind the scenes. I might choose to address it in music. And you know, that was how I ended myself up in the Pusha situation, which, you know, some of my favorite fighters in the world, you know, take a guy like Nate Diaz. You look at his record, it might not look like the craziest record, but you know, he's still one of my favorite fighters. He's still a dog, and that's just the sport of fighting. You know, somebody's gonna catch you at some point. You know, unless you're Floyd, pretty much. You know, but for the rest of us, you know, you're gonna get you know, rocked one time by something you didn't expect. So that's just kind of how I chalk that situation up. And again, you know, learn from it, channel it into something else. And right now, I'm in a space where, I mean, those guys don't come outside. I don't see those guys anywhere. So like, it's not the same as when I was beefing with Chris or those guys, they hide in God knows where and they don't come outside unless it's like an event with like security and shit like that. So I you know, for me, I'm at a great place in my life where it's just like, you know, my life is about peace. My life is about drinking espressos and wine. I'm trying to make this album. I'm enjoying being a father. I'm enjoying my house. And my mind isn't plagued by beef, though.
Do you think Sicko Mode was your final thing on it, in a sense? Like in terms of your final statement about him or the camp and everybody in general? Because that record went #1 like last year, and it seems like this year you're in a whole different zone. And like,
yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you know, he's, God bless him on his new journey, but he's making like, I don't even know if he's ever gonna make like secular music again or not. I don't know which one is non-secular, secular. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, if he turns up on me again, I'll turn up on him again, I guess. That's just what it is. I'm always down. And yeah, it just is what it is, I guess. It's not something I really like, I'm looking forward to or like thinking about too much, but I'm also like, I'm not just gonna sit by while somebody's, you know, just talking loose about me or whatever I have going on. So yeah, I guess it is what it is. I mean, it never fails.
Right.
Something will come one day. But knock on wood, I pray that I stay in this place of peace because I'm enjoying it more than more than a lot of the past years that have been, like I said, plagued by confrontation and just, it's dark clouds, man. It's negativity and like, I
went from never hear a reply from it to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Free smoke.
But you like the sparring though, because like you
course,
say you take shots with the GOAT. You talk about the shots that you sent with Jay-Z. Like, why has that relation remained intact? Why has it never gone left?
I think that we have. I think Jay has a lot of respect for me, and he's aware of the massive amount of respect that I have for him at the end of the day. And I think we both enjoy we both enjoyed our moments of, him, checking the young boy and me trying to be like, nah, I'm here, like.
Any lines that stick out to you? You'd be like, oh, I know what you were talking about.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's plenty. And that bar from that song is a real thing. We met up and really spoke about all our jabs and fallouts and what prompted some of those things and but.
Which song is that, you said? Which one?
No,
We're talking about
Survival.
talking about the bars that we
Survival.
send in.
Survival,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was great. It was a really important moment for us, and I think from that point on, we haven't really engaged again in anything, and I don't think I'd want to at this point because with everything that's going on, we're losing so many people, and I do think it's really important that we, as wrapped up as you can get in this competitive side of things, I do think it's important that when you have that much respect for somebody, or somebody has that much of a fingerprint on who you are as a person, it's just important to start showing it. So I also had to man up and just realize like, yo, this is Hov, and like, I gotta like, while I'm here, while he's here, while all these other people are here watching, I gotta at least, pay my respects. So
How did Talk Up come about? You ended up putting him on there. I was surprised to see that. I was like, oh man.
yeah, Talk Up is like Talk Up. We just always have had like these super lyrical records, and I was trying to get like Jay on a club record. Like, I knew it might be my last Jay feature. I was like, oh, for the last hurrah, like let me try and go sicko mode #1 with Jay. Like, but it was tough. He was doing shows at the time, and obviously like thank you to like No ID and Guru. Those guys really like pushed hard to get me that verse. But yeah, looking back on it, I probably would have just rather do like Light Up 2 or something like that. I think everybody just wants to hear me and Jay rap for real. So that song, was. We definitely got to get one more after that, so we can at least solidify the ratio.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why would you say last one? I mean, I know you said on Western Road Flow that you're gonna retire at 35. Like you hanging
not
it up?
last one for me. I just thought I don't know what his plans are. I just thought it might. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what his plans are.
But is that your reality? Retiring at 35?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
I think when I was like 20 something, it sounded better. I do have trouble. Like I just turned 33. I do have trouble thinking of myself rapping like past 40. But then again, it's the same way I had trouble thinking of myself rapping at 35 when I was like 26. So I think it's just, you start putting these faraway numbers and you're like, damn, 7 years from now, like there's no way I'm gonna be, doing What a Time 3 with Future talking about activists and Percocet. Right. So, yeah, you just I don't know, I guess you just always set these like distant things and you're like, I won't. But I love making music, man. I just finished my studio in the house. I haven't even recorded the first song in there yet.
This guy I keep trying to go through everything. This guy wants to talk about the new album, man. What do you talk about?
But before
Chris Brown, we didn't get to talk about Chris Brown.
There's so much to talk about. I want to talk about someone you do like make.
Chef, can I have another?
We're gonna be here for a while. You make good music with Rick Ross. We talk about the current records. Bury Me in the Grave. Gold Roses. What is it with the chemistry with Ross? Like, why do you guys make so much good music together? And where the hell is the Yellow mixtape?
What's the Yellow mixtape?
Oh, YOLO.
The YOLO mixtape?
Oh, YOLO mixtape.
YOLO. Take
I
it
was like,
back.
me and Elliot got a mixtape together. YOLO mixtape.
I need that intro. Man. I need that intro.
I think Ross has just always been one of my favorite rappers ever, and I think when we hit each other up to do a song, it's just always an enjoyable text to get, you know? It's always enjoyable when he hits me and says, yo, I need one, or, you know, I hit him and say, yo, I got one for you. We just know what time it is. I know he's gonna bar up. I know he's gonna, you know, I know what he's gonna bring, and he's just one of the most consistent people. If you ask something of him, like, you know, sometimes it's tough to collaborate with people, because if they don't deliver exactly what you were thinking of, how do you tell them,
I don't like that,
this
fam.
wasn't, you know, it can really sever relationships.
Damn.
And Ross is just one of those people I've never had to worry. I've never had to like question what he's gonna bring. You know, he didn't just like, I didn't send him like a Gold Roses and he sends me back like him like singing in falsetto and like auto-tune, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, yeah, he's just consistent, man.
Yeah.
He's just really one of the best and one of the most thorough that does this, for real.
Remember, Social B-Boy, when you squashed it with Meek, it was like, that means Drake and Rick Ross can make records again.
Well, that was like one of the most painful parts for me. I mean, aside from just like the rift that situation put between the family, and like, you know, obviously changed me and Nicki a lot, probably forever, you know, like that situation took its toll, but one of the most painful parts was just being like, man, Ross is like one of my OGs, one of my mentors, and one of my favorite people in the game. And I might not be able to make a record with him again because he has to pick a side. It was like, damn, you know? And that was kind of the case with a lot of that, you know, more so Meek, because, you know, Meek's a bigger artist than the guy that I'm beefing with right now. So it's like, it really came down to like more people picking sides, you know?
And people liking those people.
Yeah, and that's really tough, man, when people that you just have history with feel like they have to choose a side. So
How do you and Chris Brown get back together and make a damn smash?
Right.
Like,
Grammy
he's got like
nominated
87
smash.
songs on his album, and that's the hit. Like, no guidance, no shots, but like, talk about no guidance. Like, how did that come together?
Well, I think we've come together before and tried to link and make music. And I think we were always kind of forcing it. I think there was always like resentment on both sides. You know, really at the end of the day, you know, again, when you kind of step away from it and break it down, you start to feel silly because it's like over like girl stuff, you know? But obviously that can snowball into like real shit, and that's what happened in this
Real
situation.
shit that ruined the New York club life. Forever, man.
It did.
You shut down New York club life, man, forever.
I have no recollection.
Your attorney's here with you.
I have zero
All right.
recollection.
But also makes great records.
Yeah, but yeah, so.
What made No Guidance different? Like,
Yeah, it was, well, I think we were just both grew up to the point that like that person that was kind of, you know, in the middle of us is like no longer a part of like either of our like lives currently. Yeah. And I have the utmost love and respect for her. I think of her as family more than anything. And I actually had like kind of a moment of hesitation before, because I didn't want her to ever feel disrespected by me linking up with him. But I also know how many nights she knows that me and him have both been consumed by this issue. And I think she's a good person with a good heart that would rather see us put that issue to bed than continue like childish shit that could end up in a serious situation. So I decided to go ahead with it. And, you know, I was hearing from people that he was in a really good space to link up. And yeah, I was like, I think like that show when he came out, it was like one of those like best buds moments, you know? It was like, man, we're best buds. We missed all these years. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I just always really had a lot of admiration for his talent. And I think finally he gave me the mutual respect and admiration by allowing me to take the lead on the song, you know, which was always kind of like, not like whenever we'd link up, he'd always have something in mind. And then I'd be like, well, maybe we should, you know, and again, people can take those things personally when it's like, when the one they think, you know, that you should get on, you're like, well, let me try something else. Right. And this was just a big moment for me, because he let me send him a joint. and he just bodied it. He just bodied it, and I knew right away when the song was finished. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Like, not only did we link back up and like have like a cool show moment, but like we did a record together,
right.
and it's serious. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
It's not some, it's not some shit that's just gonna disappear. Like, this is a joint.
It rained this summer.
Yeah, and then again at the video.
Getting your dance
I really do thank him, and I don't even know if I ever got to say this to him personally, but I really do thank him a lot because, just him, just both of us being able to put ego aside and him just trusting me again. Initially that video didn't have that scene at the end. Chris Robinson was directing it with another guy, and I met up with Chris the day before, and I was like, yo. If you want this video to have the impact, we can't just shoot some shit where we're trying to look cool. We gotta address the issue at hand. It has to be, it has to feel, it has to have that SNL element to it. It has to. I'm like, I promise you it'll be watched 100 times more if we just both admit that this is happening and don't try and act like, you got it, girl. Like, so yeah, and it involved shooting an extra day, and to Chris's credit, he stayed the extra day. He bodied it. He was hilarious. He kept a straight face while I was, pulling my heart out of my chest and doing all that dumb shit. So, he was just amazing, and I think we both really felt, satisfied after that. And he's also on my album as well. Well, I mean, if
this album,
if the song, I don't know what's gonna make the album, but we have done more music together.
How are you approaching this album?
Well, really just kind of taking all the energy that I've talked to you about and trying to project it into music, the good and the bad that's going on in my life. Definitely taking my time a lot more with this album. I'll go like 3 weeks in between making songs. Just because I'm just kind of enjoying life. I'm enjoying living, going out with people, investing in personal connections, and it's just making my music better, to be honest. I'm touching on things that when you're just kind of on go mode and you're in studio every night, you kind of just
like your
run out.
night this year, right? 2019. That was on purpose?
Yeah. I definitely was trying to fall back for a bit. Like I said, Scorpion was a high volume album, so
that's exactly what high volume.
Yeah, and it was just a high volume year.
And you regress in that sometimes when people do with Jay with Blueprint too, you do a lot of songs. It's like maybe I shouldn't have gave you so much. Do you look like you maybe could have cut Scorpion down?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I look back on it, I definitely could have refined it to a project that maybe would have gotten a bit more critical acclaim. Yeah. But I was obsessed with Life After Death, man. I was just so baffled at how Big had so many good songs on a double album with 20. So I was locked in on this idea, I'm gonna do a 20-something song album, and 12, 15 songs are gonna be remembered for being amazing. And funny enough, I mean, I did achieve, I came close, yeah, it's just, again, like I said, going back to Nothing Was the Same, I think when I deliver my vision in a more concise fashion, I think anybody, when you deliver your vision in a concise fashion, it really gets the point across a lot more than having moments for people to be able to drift and be like, not really, when you really, but it takes a lot of discipline, because it's you can get connected to songs and then you can get down to it and be like, well, what would I cut? What am I supposed to cut?
Yeah.
And
you want people to hear it.
Yeah, and what am I gonna do with these songs that took me, a month to finish, all things included. So it's I don't know, it's discipline, and that's kind of what I'm really trying to exercise on this next album, is just making the best music possible, and then having the heartbreak of being all right, so.
Is he going for kind of what Nothing Was the Same, your favorite, making it the most concise vision, I guess, in a sense?
I wouldn't say most concise. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna be able to ever make a 12, 13 song album, but only because, and this is what I want people to give me credit for. The reason why you'll never get that 10-song classic, 11-song, because that's 40's thing. Oh, I need the 10
that
song.
45-minute one song.
Yeah, I need the 11. I need the 11-song Drake classic. But I'm the only one that has a commitment to do two things. I have to do two things every album. I have to give the people that like to hear the singing enough to hold on to, and I have to give my, you know,
Bars.
I have to give Braun enough bars for him to, you know, that's my, you know, that's my guy, Braun and Mav. Those are my bar. We have a bar group chat. It's like, we bar up on each other all the time, straight, just freestyle battles in the group chat. Those are my rap guys, you know? And of course, like, the elusive one, you know, is another guy who like is always gonna love the other records, but the ones that we connect on most are the ones where I'm just giving those life talks, like the record that you heard the other day.
You sent me and Elliot this record.
When to say when. And that might not even make the album, obviously.
I don't know, yeah. I don't know.
Lucy.
Yeah, I just wanted you to hear some talks before we did this, because I felt like, you know, it's like weird to do an interview with no new music context. So I was just giving you a little preview. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, just to show you I can still rap, basically. I just sent that to you.
One of the things in the credit, you talk about Baby Wayne and Tez responsible for this shit. It's one of the lines in there. Like, people are curious, like, with the whole Young Money, Cash Money, Wayne's conflict with Baby, like, where do you stand with all that? And then we saw, like, was it Frozen Moments?
Yeah, Frozen Moments
as a label. Like, where are you signed to? Like, how did all that situation, business-wise, affect you?
Well, you know, my loyalty obviously lies with the people who gave me the platform, my first shot. So that's really where that line comes from, despite, you know, how things may have ended up. I'm always so grateful for those three people selflessly giving me a chance and not being intimidated when it was working out. You know, for another artist to give an artist a shot and then to see that artist get as big or bigger at the time, eventually, can be tough. A lot of people wouldn't be able to handle that. A lot of people who have artists signed can't handle that.
Falls apart.
Yeah, and Wayne, you know, to his credit, was the most selfless person. My current situation is, I'm always going to be involved with like the, you know, Cash Money, Young Money imprint. Like, you know, my loyalty, like I said, always lies there. But you know, I'm just signed direct myself to
Universal.
Yeah, to Universal. So, you know, that situation was a lot of mess that needed to be cleaned up over the years. And, you know, you just think of where those guys started. I mean, it's only right that there's going to be a lot of gray area over 20 years of, you know, hustlers coming out of New Orleans to go on and pretty much keep Universal alive.
Facts. Make the market shares.
Yeah, so,
and all that,
yeah, I mean, you know, and that's, yeah. So it's really kind of, I kind of stay out of it. It's not really my business, and obviously this guy over here has ensured that my business is straight, and that I'm able to, you know, just see the fruits of my labor, and that's what I'm very grateful for, you know, and you know, as well with Jay and Rap A Lot and those guys who were also involved in that situation. I'm obviously very grateful for them.
Yeah. So you never felt like, people used to hype up so many people involved with your career. You never felt like there were too many people in your pockets per se, or like? No,
I was grateful. I had like all these just G's around me, you know? Like I had a bunch of guys that, you know, I'm obviously out here giving them return on investment, and with that comes, you know, just support, love, a family atmosphere. You know, me and Birdman to this day, you know, still talk. Of course, me and Wayne will talk forever. But yeah, I never felt like I wasn't in some scared artist position where I was like being like, you know, blackmailed or taken advantage of. I was never in that position. I just had like real G's around me that supported me, and I'm so grateful for that, because yeah, it's just that's what it is. That's what the mob ties is. It's like, yo,
about that. Jay
when you're
Prince,
tied
mob
in,
ties, man.
What does
that mean to you?
What that means?
Mob ties.
Yeah,
and Jay Prince's involvement, and like him still being so involved in your life and in your career.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you do good for somebody and you guys like work together, it just, you know, you naturally just you build a family atmosphere. You know, Jay Prince is like a father to me, and he takes anything to do with me personal as if I'm one of his sons. So, you know, that's what being tied in is. You know, we're just, you know, I mean, anyone that knows Jay Prince knows what he offers as a man. and that he's, you know, a true man of respect, a made man. And yeah, you know, I'm a guy that was able to do well. You know, I was one of his sons that was able to turn up and bring some money home. So he's always just gonna show love. And yeah, but it's real. It's, you know, it's really just based on like hard work and love. That's kind of where our relationship stems from and what it's rooted in. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way, you know?
When you mentioned labels, you know, you got OVO Sound Records. There's a lot of criticism that, you know, when it comes to OVO, Drake is the priority of the label. You know, you have other artists on there. Do you feel like pressure to like continue to build another superstar on the same level as you?
When it comes to our label, we've always taken the same approach that Wayne took with us, which is you do what you want, how you want. There'll never be a time where the answer is like no, or like, you know, I really try and stay out of the way of the other artists and give them support whenever they need it. But I'm not a guy that, like, you know, like again with the jokes about like, oh, parties in the basement, whatever, you know, Party's not dropping music because Party's not ready to drop music, you know, and those 2 records that came out the other day were a great celebration for all of us because, you know, Party's gonna drop when Party wants to drop. That's who Party is. Anybody that's ever worked with him knows, like, he does shit on his own time and you just have to respect it. And, you know, same with the other guys, you know, with Majid and with Division, with Roy. Everybody's allowed to do whatever they want. You can make music with whoever you want. You know, you can drop whenever you want. You can make whatever kind of music you want. And if you need the boy on something, then you'll ask 40 and he'll call me and chances are I'm gonna do it. So, yeah, I mean, our label is actually an incredible place and a great breeding ground for artists that just really want to do their own thing. And do I feel pressure to create a superstar? I mean, I feel like we've definitely have some incredible superstars that are cemented in the music scene. You know, all these guys have had great contributions. Do I feel pressure to make like another like me? No, not really. I honestly, my big thing would be I'd love to like sign a female artist because I enjoy writing songs for like from that perspective, and obviously, you know, I don't really have too many places to place those records, so it would be nice to link with a female like in the years moving forward and try our hand at that. But yeah, it's just an easygoing atmosphere, you know. I think again, people like the jokes are funny and shit, but that's not really the truth behind it. Anybody else will tell you
writers
that.
to help you.
Your
magic.
But when it comes to like collaboration with
No, but do you think also one thing in that? Do you think also the fact that things didn't work out with The Weeknd? You know, he ended up doing his own thing. You know, like you said, you would embrace almost building another star, though. You're not really going out of your way trying to make it happen, but if it did happen, you'd be able to deal with and embrace it. And then that didn't work out. Do you think that kind of overlaps a little bit of this kind of organic thing you're building with OVO?
Well, with Abel, we had our run. You know, we had our moments on Take Care, and you know, my features on his projects, and he just really came to me at one point, came to all of us and was like, look, like I don't want to sign under another artist because I feel like I could be just as big or bigger, and I want to start my own thing. And it was never like I'm to this day I'm always excited, always super happy for all those guys. And I never like had any resentment towards like, oh, you didn't stay on OVO. That was never really like, I'm not gonna say there weren't people that didn't feel a way about it, but that was never my thing. I never expected Abel to stay under OVO as soon as I heard him once express that he wanted to do his own thing. So it's like, my biggest regret would maybe be that we probably wasted 7 years not communicating with each other when we had something beautiful going on. You know, like OVO XO still could have been a thing. And still will be a thing, by the way.
Heartless #1 right now.
Yeah.
Drizzy Drake coming back 2020.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, it's like, obviously, like you said, people have to grow and we got to work through things. And I have my fair share of shit to apologize for, as does he. We've obviously had our, you know, our bumps in the road, but yeah, my biggest regret isn't that like he never signed to OVO. My biggest regret would just be that, you know, we didn't give people that album, that tour, that, you know.
Those moments.
Yeah, because it's just like, you know, the two biggest artists from the city don't link.
Yeah.
So it's just not a good look for where we're from. So, you know, hopefully we can fix that and make good on the years that we missed, kind of like me and Chris did, you know?
Yeah. You see the results.
Yeah, so I look forward to that, and, you know, hopefully he's open-minded to it.
We still didn't get the Wu-Tang Forever video, though.
Yeah, man, what happened
You
with
want
that?
that? You still want that?
Hell yeah, we still want that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. It was just, I don't know what happened with that. It was like we needed a whole nother shooting day. And Mark, can you bring me can you tell Chef to make me another glass of wine, please? Because I'm parched. Yeah, no, we needed just more time. We needed more time and more budget. It was getting out of hand. Yeah. It was getting out of hand, and I remember, like at some point, like the labelist and I pulled the plug on it. Like, we're not doing this for like some remix video to a song that's not even a single. Like,
Right.
That was back in the day when people could actually tell me no.
Well, you do this,
But it's funny you mentioned the Weeknd thing. We listened to the Ride on the Way with Weeknd on the record too. Like,
It's one of my favorite songs.
I was gonna say he says that's your
I think
best
it's your
record.
best song.
The Ride is
I
your
don't think
best
he made
record.
a better record than The Ride yet. Is that fair to say?
No, but I mean,
You take me out the crib.
No,
now.
but the thing is funny about, like, I was telling him, like, so you have records that are like hit records, right?
Yeah.
Best I ever had, but that's not even on the set list anymore.
No, yeah.
And then you have records that could be, it's not a performance record, but it could still be a big record. Like,
My
I wonder in
goal,
your
by the way,
catalog.
my goal always is, if my last 4 songs of my previous tour don't change, then I did something wrong. So for example, like if I still have to end the night with God's Plan on this next tour, then I did something wrong. I need
Big hit close.
yeah, just those last 4 slots to me are like, that shows your work in the last, whatever it's been, you know, since your last project.
So you'll be happy to not end the show with God's Plan at this point.
At this point, yeah, that would be a big thing for me if I have a record that's big enough that like people want to hear it more, and God's Plan moves up to the middle or the beginning of the show.
So what are like five great Drake songs that aren't set lists or singles songs that like
you have
you
them?
still appreciate? I'm saying it's a good debate, right? There's so many records.
Ooh, five.
Five
Okay.
Drake records
That's
that
hard.
like are still great records, but you probably haven't performed them. They weren't necessarily singles.
Trust Issues. 4 p.m.
That's a hard one. Calabasas.
Fire and Desire.
That's tough.
I'm trying to think bars.
4 p.m. That's my joint though.
Yeah. Nah, I won't put that up there.
Trust Issues, 4 p.m. Calabasas.
Trust Issues, 4 p.m.
Fire and Desire.
Fire and Desire.
Something early.
Tuscan.
Fear,
Tuscan.
maybe?
Fear's that same thing where I hear like a dated version of myself, you know? I'm like, I could have rapped that better.
People say that's,
Yeah, I don't know. The 5th one, shit. I got a lot of songs.
So what went wrong with Tyler, man, at the Camp Flognog, man?
I just walked myself into a situation. I kind of felt it backstage too. I kept making jokes. I think I actually made a joke on camera. Someone showed me the clip the other day. I'm like, how long do you think it's gonna take before they boo me off stage? Yeah,
It was more jeering and trolling, I feel, than actual booing.
it was booing. I have my.
I tried to listen one.
It was a clip where you was like, what the hell? I'm performing the hit, and it's like, it's not connected.
Nah, it was just.
You looked really befuddled at times. You was like,
I was a little.
someone fucking with me? Like, what is going on?
I was a little confused because I just didn't. Like, I was kind of sitting there going like, you guys know Frank's not here, right? So it's like, you may as well just like get over that and
Rock.
now like let's rock, cause like I'm the guy, I'm the replacement. So I got a couple joints if you want to hear them. Like it was. I actually now in hindsight wish I would have said like, yo guys,
There's no
Frank,
Frank
or
Ocean
just like
vibes.
been like broke out into like a tornado and just made everything. Those are like the two like biggest regrets in my life. I wish but. Yeah, I just walked myself into a situation that like, you know, people thought they were coming to a Frank Ocean concert. That was what everyone was there for. And like, you know, that festival's been on for 8 years and he hasn't come once and they thought this was the year and it wasn't.
Right.
So
I know Tyler was really upset.
Yeah, I think
put you in that position.
Well, I think Tyler was upset. I got a lot of, you know, me and Tyler have a lot of respect for each other, a lot of love for each other. And you know, I think he went out on a whim asking me to do this, and I had to change my schedule around for it. And I think he thought it was gonna go over really well, especially like, you know, like Feel No Ways and Wu-Tang Forever were like his requests.
Let's put Feel No Ways there. That's number 5.
Oh yeah, that
There
is
we
number
go.
5. Yeah, Feel No Ways and Wu-Tang were his requests, and I think he just thought, like, everyone's gonna love this as much as me. And they just...
That's when you lost the crowd a little bit.
They were out of it from, they were out of it from Uzi's second song. I mean, they were already, like, Rocky came out, and you can bring it. And Rocky came out, and Tyler and Rocky are like brothers, so people are excited to see Rocky, because he's like part of the, you know, Golf Wang family. And then Uzi came out, and they showed him love, and then he tried to do a second song, and they did not show love on that second song. That was when I got worried. I was like, oh shit, they're not cheating. And he hit the shoulder move, and they just didn't,
They didn't respect the shoulder move?
They didn't fuck with the shoulder move. I was like, oh, this is crazy. And then I came out, and like the first song or two was good. They were going off. But at the end of the day, I knew right away. I'm like, they came to see a different show. And it didn't matter who walked out, I don't think. They wanted to see their guy. And so, you know, and it was like 2,000 people out of like 50,000 or whatever, 30,000. But it had an impact enough for me to be like, I walked off stage. Like my next songs were about to slap the place. Like I had like Nonstop, Sicko, God's Plan. I had a bunch of joints to still do. Money in the Grave I was gonna do. But yeah, I just had to cut, because I was like, you know, this could go really bad, where if I've already overstayed my welcome. If somebody throws something and hits me, or like if this tide starts to turn even more, I already knew I was the talk of the gram for like the next 2 days. So I was like, let me just.
But does it fire you up, like the competitive nature of you? Like no matter what, I mean, you understand the circumstances, but just like that, no matter how much success, people can still try to doubt on you one time, right? Like no matter what.
Yeah, that's a really tough group of kids to make happy though, you know? Like it's just like a really, like it's a cult following. You know, Tyler has built like a cult, and it's a tough group to make happy. So I just took it with grace. It was a nice moment of humility.
You took it grace.
I couldn't, you know. I remember like, you know, I remember old Wayne shows where like one person would be like, yell while he's talking, and he'd be like, "Fuck this, bro!" Like throw the mic and dip. And I was thinking like, should I pull the Wheezy Baby one time and just go? But nah, it was all good, you know. It was important for me. Would I do a B-side show? Yeah, sure. I would love to do. Like we've talked about maybe doing an unplugged with all the records that I never usually perform. I think it would be great. I think it would also just showcase how serious I take performing as well. I think majority of the time people see me as on like shaky cell phone cameras in arenas, and I think it would be nice to have an intimate moment. But sorry, what I was gonna say about the Flog Gnaw thing was. It's funny, I feel like it builds up the story, because I feel like maybe, you know, when a new album drops, I feel like maybe next year they might be calling for me, you know? You never know. I'm serious. That's how it is. Sometimes the story just needed to go like that. Sometimes, you know, next year that could be the moment where, you know, I pop out and they you know, it's only 1,000 people. But,
right. The story went nice for you in sports, man. I feel like you won an NBA championship.
Yeah, that was
as much as anybody. Like, what did that? I mean, I saw you go crazy after that Game 5 win, where you was really like letting the people know the passion of the city. Like, what was that experience like?
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I was drunk. But that speech.
This didn't exist out here.
No, but that is true though. That is true.
Yeah.
But I pretty much have zero recollection of how I pieced
like that.
pieced
You
that
like
speech
that.
together. But it was a surreal
You had a
moment.
press conference. You called the press
I
conference.
know,
to the
yeah.
side.
I was just natural. It was it was organic. I just turned to my right and there was 30 microphones. They wanted to hear me speak. But no, it was. That was like one of the. You know, you talk about not realizing how crazy something was until like it's all calmed down.
Yeah.
That entire playoffs and you know, building that connection with Kawhi. Obviously, I've been friends with Kyle for years and years, and you know, all the rest of the guys that have been playing their heart out on this team, even when we were not doing well. But that parade, I've honestly never seen anything like that with my two eyes in my entire life. I've never been so sure that something wasn't real. Like, I was like, this is not real. I must have like, you know, dislocated my knee and I'm like in the hospital on like morphine or something. They're gonna wake me up. Like, you know, it was crazy. It was just so much love,
Give
so much
somebody a hug.
unity.
You said, give somebody a hug.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Not for the city.
Not for real. It was just like, we were all there. We were all in it together. And you know, I remember I was on the bus. I was like standing next to Kawhi. We were coming out underneath this bridge, like into Financial District. And you would look up at these like 50-floor skyscrapers and every window had 20 people in it going like this. Like, it was like, I just never seen anything like that. I don't know if any sports team will ever have a parade like that. It meant so much. And obviously because he was playing for a country. And they were all playing, you know, on behalf of a country. So it wasn't just about Toronto. It was just about being Canadian that day. It was about showing love. It was about, you know, the unthinkable happening, which is similar to my story as well. So I was very connected to it because, you know, I didn't know if I'd ever see an NBA championship in my lifetime. So, yeah, I mean, thank God for Masai, thank God for Kawhi.
Thank God for that big-ass ring you got.
Oh, yeah.
Not that one.
Yeah.
Talking about the championship.
Yeah, no, I
But
left
it
those
going so
upstairs.
pure, do you think that was okay for then Kawhi to move on? Did you feel like you had to try to help to keep him? Like, was it painful to see him go to the Clippers?
Yeah, of course. It was painful to see him go to the Clippers.
Did you think he had any shot to get him to stay?
Look, you know, you can never fault a man for wanting to go home, right? So that's pretty much just the simplest way I can put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it hurt. I think he's like the only franchise player to ever like walk away from a team after a championship. Right. And the way the NBA shaped up this year, like we definitely would have been back in the finals and probably, you know, I mean, obviously LeBron is a force, but I truly believe that that team played with heart. And this Raptors team this year has heart.
They're being
and
competitive out there.
Yeah, I just think that maybe with Kawhi staying and one more small move, I think that we probably could have ran it back and had a back-to-back, a real back-to-back. So, yeah, it is. It does hurt, and you could kind of feel it in the arena the other night. It was like everybody. Of course, we're always going to show him love, but it was just tough to see him in a Clippers jersey and tough to get smacked by like 20 points. But
Can you talk about tough verses on Gold Roses? You say, you know, you're 10 years in, we still haven't heard some of your most impressive verses. But which ones are you most proud of? Something that made you stand out, like, yo, I did that.
Just majority of the ones that really, like, I pat myself on the back for are the ones where there's a constant, fluid, conversational style, sporadic thoughts going everywhere, but somehow all connecting. So funny enough, like Gold Roses would be one of those verses, or like the record that I let you hear the other day would be one of those verses that like I'm most proud of. Because traditional rap, when I say traditional rap, like rap without melody, is kind of like going extinct a bit, you know?
I like how you did on Ready, you brought back the Smooth the Gambler Trigger, broken language.
Yeah.
Flow.
Yeah, like I feel like just, you know, in a mainstream space, I feel like, you know, the art of bars and just that traditional, you know, rap, the long verses, it's kind of going extinct. And then you got like you know, you got guys like Griselda making it wavy again just to be on your like gutter, straight rap shit, no, you know, like, you know, the interesting structures and just like that gutter shit. But other than that, you know, any kid that's gonna wanna make music right now, their first thing is gonna be like Pierre Bourne style beat on YouTube, and then it's like, yo, let me just
Find
first line's gonna be about like the Draco and like whatever. It's like that's kind of, you know, that is kind of where it's going. So I think just honestly, I'm just grateful to be able to rap, and the fact that people even still want to listen lets me know that I have a lot of good shit to say about life, because I think it is really hard to captivate the younger audience by just like rapping.
Yeah.
You know, I think without a hook, without a melody, without a beat that slaps, you know, it's tough. Like 40 sent me this beat yesterday as a Primo beat, and I was like, I gotta go crazy on this beat. I started writing to it, and it just hit me like, wow, I'm gonna really rap on a Primo beat in 2020. Yeah, I mean, I'm just grateful that I still even have the like desire to do that, because I think a lot of people, you know, probably in my position would have just abandoned it and just said like, fuck that, you know? And like, you know, that, to be honest, like, you know, your comment section and your followers are like an unforgiving group, you know? And that's just facts.
On Instagram?
Yeah. Well, like, just like, you know, the people that subscribe to the music that we all love, you know, the real core of this rap thing, you know, it's an unforgiving space. They're an unforgiving group. Nothing's ever really good enough, you know? Not for me anyway, you know, because I am the unconventional one.
I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I obviously, you know, I always keep my ear out for the hardest shit. I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for, you know, the other two guys that I'm constantly, you know, up against, which is like Cole and Kendrick.
Three-headed monster.
Yeah. So I have a lot of respect for those guys, because they also continue to, you know, stay true to what we started with, and finding new ways to do it. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited that the decade's about to turn, and we're gonna see who can, you know, who can go that extra stretch, because it is really, I think for all three of us, it is the time to see who can transcend the generations, much like Jay did, or much like Wayne did after the Hot Boys days, going into like Show Me What You Got freestyle, when he just completely switched up and was like, oh, you know, so
absolutely.
I think that year is coming up for all three of us, where it's time to see, you know, are we capable of, you know, another 5-year run.
You talked about that on Tuscan Leather, when you was like, you see around a decade from now.
Yeah.
But I feel like with them, I love them, but I don't know if they really want to keep going. Like, I feel like you may hear that thing, and a lot of times with rappers, you guys want to, like, hip-hop artists, you want to go out on top, right? Nobody wants to overstay their welcome, you know? You put out 2 or 3 projects and no one's connecting. So I could see Cole saying, okay, this is it for me for a minute, or Kendrick saying, this is it for me. But I feel like with you, I feel like your spirit is more from that competitive thing, that I don't see you saying, like, this is my last one, I'm gonna take a couple years off.
It's the competitive thing, and it's also just like, I'm probably one of the few people that really lives this rap life. Like, I really live this rap life for real. I'm really out here partying. You see the house.
Up at the baby
you
show.
see the, I'm out, I'm in the streets, I'm really out here, and you know,
the lifestyle.
To those guys' credit, and a lot of, like, some of the inspiration I've taken from them for the last 6 months is just like, you know, they come, they do what they need to do, and they go back to their real life. You know, they go back to their beautiful families, and, you know, and so, that's something that, like, I've invested my time in lately, but, like, for the most part,
you out here.
I'm out here, man. Yeah. I'm really out here, like, living the rap life.
But I remember on 5 AM, you say you pride yourself being the only one known for the music. And you still feel like that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that despite all the different narratives and the jokes, and I don't think anybody could really discredit my offering in this lifetime. You know, I really do feel like I am known for not how I dress, not you know, not for all the controversy, not for all the shenanigans, not for, you know, how thugged out I am, or I'm just known, you know
Got
that I'm
records.
going to,
Got
you know I'm
records.
not gonna flop.
Yeah.
You know I'm coming with some shit, always,
Right.
you know? And that's just something that I pride myself on. Like, I think people can't question the fact, like, you know, like, okay, if there's a Drake album dropping, like, I know there's something on there that's gonna, you know, so.
Or that feature guest. I think we was talking about Stay Scheming.
Yeah.
I think your verse on there, like, arguably one of the top guest verses of the decade.
Thank you.
Do you remember, like, the approach when you was trying to, do you remember your approach when you were making that record?
Yeah, I remember we were at Ross's house and he was playing me his project and he just completely was like, oh yeah, this is like a song that me and French were working on, and I heard it and I was like, yo,
Right.
this is it.
Right.
For me, it just, again, it was a rap record with bars that was wavy, that had a hook. That's very rare and very hard to come by. Like it was pure bars, but the hook kept you engaged. The beat wasn't some like boom bap, like granola shit that like, you know, made you like, yeah, just like some like dry ass. Like it had a wave. It sounded like nighttime in the whip.
Yeah.
And yeah, I took the record back with me to the hotel. I think to the studio I was at. I did the verse that night. Maybe I might have done the verse at Ross's house. And then we all went to get changed and shoot the video. That, like, an hour after the verse was done, or like maybe the next night, I don't know. Meek could tell the story.
Filming everything,
Yeah, Meek could tell the story better than me because he told it the other night, and now I forget it. But yeah, we that was just one of those times, man. That was like, it was just super organic, and it was just in the age of like, yo, like just us linking up is enough. Forget a video treatment and all this. Just us linking in the streets of Miami, just, you know, with bars was enough. And that's what I loved about that
Did
shit.
Kobe ever get at you for that line on that record?
What you mean, get at me, like record a song?
Addressing, you know, shooting in the gym.
Did he do a diss track for me?
Jelly P.
Yeah, it wasn't about getting at me or anything like that. It was just, you know, he obviously, you know,
a conversation.
I don't think I think it was more like, I think his lady I think the line became so big that I think it became a little annoying to her. I apologized a couple times. I really didn't mean it. Yeah. Like I didn't mean to like cause her any like harm in life. But you know, sometimes things take on a life of their own. And
but most of your lyrics are like that though. Like I catch a lot of flack because I said a lot of your bars become like life mantras, you know.
Yeah.
They become captions and Instagram posts and things like that. But it's like when you make those kind of lines, they stick to people's ribs.
Yeah, it just became a thing, and you know, it became the line. Like, I mean, you know, if she was in the club in that era, you know, she would have heard everybody yelling that line out and maybe, you know, taking it personal. But yeah, yes, I mean, yeah, I've apologized for that.
Okay.
But falling back this year, I saw you come out the Baby Show, like, just in general, like taking more of a backseat in 2019. What stood out to you in terms of artists or things that you paid attention to and you've enjoyed?
Well, I mean, I think Thug had the best album of the year. Actually, well,
it's fun.
Yeah, actually, between him and Baby Keem, Die For My Bitch, those are my two picks for album of the year.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, I just like that. It seems that, you know, new artists are really becoming like superstars in their own right, you know. And I like just like the little pockets that you have. You know, I like the fact you have like the Uzi Cardis and the Cut, you know, and they're just like so influential and just like so important to like, and my cousin's like, you know, 18 and he came on the road with me, and it's like I'm always paying attention to what he's on and who he thinks is cool, you know. So yeah, I got a lot of respect for those guys. And then you obviously have the whole Atlanta like family, like, you know, you got Keed, you got Got It, Thug, Duke, of course Future, who's like forever, you know.
Heard Joe might be cooking back up again.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, we got.
You know what I mean?
We're always working. We got some. But yeah, what else this year? I mean,
What
like
about outside of hip hop? Is there anything else on your radar?
Oh man.
I know you gotta be happy of Snow. You know, you had her, you sampled her before.
Oh yeah. She's amazing. Yeah. Man, where's my phone? Let me see. I'll tell you.
You and Oliver don't be doing these playlists no more.
I know.
Over.
He just called me too. Yeah, let me see like what's on my year-end.
You
We
made a
need
list
that
and checking it
that
twice.
year-end Drake playlist.
Man, all right, well, I listen to a lot of like drill music from UK, which is amazing that like the New York drill movement is getting so big because it's like M1 and oh man, I forget the other Axel. Those guys, just the fact that like everyone's gonna start using their beats is so sick because those guys deserve it. Yeah, man, like now I feel bad. Most of these songs aren't even from this year. Oh, really? Like a lot of Toronto music for me is like, you know, I pay close attention. So like obviously like, you know, the guys that you always see me around or posting like Smiley, of course like Pressa, who I brought on tour with me before. But yeah, I just love the fact that there's just incredible music coming out of our city. Yeah, I don't know. I got a lot of songs on here, but none of them are really like stand out like this year for sure. Yeah, my musical taste is kind of all over the place. I just listen to whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Do you listen to other music to inspire you when you
Yeah.
come on, or do you shut out?
No, I don't shut that out. Wayne used to shut that out. Wayne, that was one thing I always was like, man, I wish Wayne, you know, would listen to some stuff because I feel like it would just add to his fuel. You know, he always used to be like, I'm not listening to no artist because I'm making an album. But yeah, I mean, I'm inspired by music from all over. That's how I end up doing like funk records from Brazil, or you know, I'm obviously always like deeply invested in the dance hall space. Afrobeats has become one of the biggest genres in the world. You know, obviously, no credit. But
No, you give that. I was actually talking to Tuma that works at YouTube. He was crediting you for kind of popularizing Afrobeats with One Dance, and it was
I mean, I think like Come Closer, One Dance. Like, first of all, the music those artists make in that space, there's nothing better than that.
Right.
So I'll never sit here and say, oh, One Dance is like the best Afrobeats record, but I do think that genre deserved to get this popular, and I'm very happy that I was able to even be part of that conversation.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, I'm just trying to think like rap space. Yeah, it would be Keem, it would be Young Thug for me, and you know all the Toronto guys. And then like I said, you know I really like just in our like rap space, like I really like the fact that, you know, just that whole like clicking up Griselda shit is just ill to me.
That Griselda hoodie on the plane. That's what she did.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get a Drake and Benny the Butcher?
Yeah, I'm down. Benny showed me love one time on an interview too. Like, you know, and I know obviously like, you know, I think they were actually talking about like the song that he has with my boy, but now he did show me love. So, I think what they're doing is great. It just reminds me of just a different time. Yeah. And it's not easy to do, you know, to you know, make that music and just come off wavy and be interesting, and, you know, just even the label name and the tag and you know, it's ill, man. I'm happy for those guys. They deserve it.
I look at Drake as like the hopeless romantic when you listen to songs like Marvin's Room and things like that. Like you say, that's like not a lifestyle you can get into. Like, where are you at right now?
Well, I only say that line because I find so many people challenging me, like, oh man, like, you know, you can't be single forever, like you. But then, like, you know, sometimes you look behind the curtain at a lot of people's relationships, and they're just not as like peachy as they seem. So that was just kind of my shot at like anybody who feels like, oh, like you should have settled by now. I love my space. I love my work, and I love my routine. And for me to break that for somebody, it would just have to be like a really special person that fits into that puzzle and that is supportive of the things I'm doing. Have to be somebody that has taste in music. It'd have to be somebody that, you know, that I that I get along with so much to the point that when we're separate, I'm feeling like I can't function properly without their presence. I have come across it a few times.
Yeah.
I've yet to be able to hold on to it for whatever reason. But yeah, I just really, I'm the captain of a ship, and I look behind me and I see a lot of people on board, and full steam ahead. That's just kind of how I have to keep rocking for right now, and hopefully I can find somebody that can just stand beside me at the wheel and help me steer while we keep the journey going, as opposed to me having to pull over and stop because that person is getting seasick. Does that make sense?
That sounds like a Drake line. It's like a Drake ball right there. God damn it, Drake, you're good at this thing.
That was from Linton. Thank you.
Was that situation, relationship with Jennifer Lopez real, or was that just?
Yeah, I have plenty of love for her. We had great times together, and we were just hanging out at one point. It was an honor to be around her. She's a great artist, great mother, and yeah, got nothing but positive things to say about her.
Let me have another drink to that one. Absolutely.
I think we're good, right?
Amazing.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, guys.
For real.
Appreciate that. No, it was great. I feel good about it.
What's business-wise? What are some moves you guys are making in terms of people miss your content to the world?
Yeah, no, 2020 is going to be a great time, and
Congrats on Top Boy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Dream Crew, our company. We have a lot of other things in the works. Obviously, Top Boy season 2, Euphoria season 2. It's a space that we both really love, and there's so many just amazing filmmakers, directors, writers that deserve a shot. In the era where people are just remaking old movies and making superhero movies over and over again, we stand for something that's like, stories that need to be told. So, yeah, definitely excited about that moving forward, and
the music, man.
And the music.
This album.
And the music.
Well, what can we expect the next 10 years from Drake, man?
Just continuing to find myself, the same way we can sit here and talk all these hours about who I used to be, or who I once was, or what I once thought were my dreams. I guess it's just like a reset button, right? Like for all of us. It's weird because it's really just a number changing. Like it's just like 19 to 20, but in your mind, I think it's gonna probably do something to all of us, where it's like, you're embarking on a different journey. So you're just gonna have to, more self-discovery. Hopefully going up, not down, and building a few more of these different places.
Yeah, man, we gotta get one of these ones.
Yeah, that's it though. Yeah, I don't know. I never really. I'm not one of those people that like has like a list up in my room of like things that need to happen. I just kind of take it as it comes.
So what is one of your biggest accomplishments, looking back in the last 10 years, musically?
Musically?
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
It's been a lot.
Yeah, just I don't know, I guess it's kind of a generic answer, but it would just be the fact that like the feeling I get when I'm out in the world is one of respect. It's like really, I think that my career has a lot of integrity, and I think I'm very excited about that, because I think I could have let that drop a bunch of times, and I also think one of my biggest accomplishments is the fact that I didn't let this massive, massive change in my life destroy me, I still don't do drugs, I drink, but even if I drink every day, I don't drink to black out, I don't drink to escape my sadness, I don't drink to the point that it affects my family or my career. I think I'm just happy that I'm still intact, that's my biggest accomplishment. I made a lot of money. I made, did a lot of things, been a lot of places, had a lot of opportunities to fuck this up, and didn't. I could be at dinner with my mom and still hear her say like, I'm proud, you're still you, you're in there, I'm looking at you. You're there. It's you. It's not like a shell of who you used to be or some shit like that, you know. And like I said, you know, with all the things that, you know, I just watched the Lil Peep documentary on Netflix, which is really genius documentary. You should watch it. And I didn't really know too much about him at the time, but now all of a sudden I'm just like deeply invested in the career that he had. But it's just really, people don't understand how overwhelming this is for these young kids, man. And I was young. Right. I was young like that too, once upon a time. And you know, some people say they don't. I can never understand how you know, you can't understand till you get here. How insane this shit can be when you're carrying a bunch of people on your back and expected to do so much. And so I would say that that's my biggest accomplishment is just still being here, and I pray that all these guys moving forward just, you know, take it one day at a time, keep the right people around you, and just know that even when it is, you know, it is overwhelming, just know that it's not like, you know, the end. That you know, I just want people to stay around. That's really my biggest thing. You know, that stuff fucks with me when we lose people and stuff like that. I don't like that stuff because I want to hear what all these kids have to offer. So.